Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday, May the 27th, and our morning coffee time. I see 50 of you are up and logged in for this morning, so maybe a few people are still warming up the stream. So, I guess it's sunny in British Columbia, as it is here, and we're moving into some of our first weather of being in the 80s. So spring is in its fullness and hints of summer to come is the way everything's feeling here. Oh, I see a few old friends. Stan, good to see you. And Jane Jira. Good morning, Jane Jira. Good to see you. Baiguri friends, White Salmon friends, Portland friends, Birkin friends. Good morning to you all. So I put a new rough draft of a little Rain and Robin's video I was working on yesterday. I didn't get a chance to quite finish it, but it's good enough for a change of scenery, even though it's not raining here this morning. So, and as I was mentioning yesterday, we've had a young rabbit hanging out, and as soon as morning meditation was done today, Ajahn Sek came and said, "Ajahn, bunny." So I set my camera up to see if I could capture him munching on some of the wild grass just behind our main building here. Just as I was about to record, a bird scared him away and he ran into the brambles. So no bunny this morning. Okay, well, I see a few more people. I had an idea, so I don't have to ask if you can see and hear me. Maybe we'll have a code. If people give me 2 thumbs up, hit your thumbs up icon. That will be code for the picture is clear and the sound is clear. So if anyone wants to do that for me. I like Mike's comment. No bunny, no problems. Wasn't that a famous Bob Marley song or something? Okay, I see double thumbs up. Perfect. Double thumbs up. That's the code. So I've got kind of a continuous stream of feedback that people really appreciate this, and definitely one of the silver linings of this time of pandemic is I don't know what confluence of conditions have done this, but it's inspired a lot of my friends and teachers to offer up a bit more Dhamma online these days, as we've talked about. I'm sure most of you are aware, but it's just amazing, kind of discovering each couple of days or something another offering that's there online. And yesterday I was talking with our good friend Scott Bench, who's here almost every morning, and he was saying, "This is great. I've never I've never felt so well supported in my practice. I can tune into uh, morning pujas and evening pujas and chant with the sangha and connect with friends from all over. And there's just a wealth of Dhamma teachings and reflections. So, and I feel the same way. It's kind of amazing. You kind of wonder how much of this will be a positive change that holds and lingers, and how much of it will go away as things normalize. But it underscores maybe a misconception that some people have. Hopefully, none of you. That the monks live a very isolated life. In fact, our communities are very connected, codependent, dependent, and integrated with lay communities and non-monastics uh, who have an affinity for this teaching and this particular approach to practicing spiritual life, and especially the monks and nuns that have more experience and that are in teaching and leadership roles in our community spend a fair amount of their time um, helping guide people, whether it's the monks and nuns in the monastery and new monastics or lay people. And it's really the chief way that we as monastics can practice generosity, and it seems fully appropriate to the way the Buddha lived and encouraged his disciples to live, and even the stories that one finds in the suttas, and if one studies the Vinaya, it was really clear that the Buddha didn't improve us being completely silent hermits, and that there should be a willingness to uh, connect with the community on a regular basis and offer your experience, mm, act in ways that might inspire faith in those who haven't yet gained faith in this endeavor of changing our minds and bettering our lives, our faith in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and also nurturing those who already have faith in such things. So, and I'm still having fun with this. This is really a nice uh, offering. So much of the way that we interact is very formalized. Some of it literally ritualized, um, but also the way we connect with many of you is in very kind of formal ways. And I think this medium here offers an interesting opportunity to try to reach out in a more informal, spontaneous way, which, as I've said before, is not really new per se. You know, if anyone visits monasteries, even the ones dedicated most strongly to solitude, silence, and a very high standard of practice, there's always opportunities to draw near the monks, especially the senior monks and nuns, and develop kalyanamitta and a supportive spiritual friendship, or even something more like teacher-student role. So, all right. Well, it looks like everyone who wants to be here is here now. So that's it for the news portion. Uh, Meditating this morning, and in particular, thinking about the obstacles to uh, wellness and strength in our practice. A couple things came to mind. We talked yesterday about restlessness and working with the breath, um, and the role that breath meditation in particular can provide in stilling the mind and overcoming that particular hindrance. Uh, and while I was meditating this morning, something that came to me was really more akin to sort of reflecting again on subtle forms of sense desire, and it's something you don't see talked about so directly when people talk about the hindrance of sense desire, but it's our relationship to pleasure and comfort. And in particular, the way it was kind of coming up for me this morning as I'm applying myself to my meditation, periodically I'm always asking myself, what's hindering uh, more focus? What's hindering joy and tranquility? Uh, and, the body was just feeling, all morning, my body was just feeling kind of a little heavy, tired, lethargic, um, which, you know, one experiences as dukkha vedana. I mean, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel comfortable. One doesn't delight in such feelings. Um, and and when we meditate, oftentimes, uh, part of our motivational package that brings us to meditation and sustains us in developing the habit of daily practice or regular practice, um, is the way it makes us feel, and in particular, some of the pleasant bodily and mental sensations that accompany overcoming the hindrances and developing this kind of focused attention in meditation. And and there's this subtle attachment to the body and to pleasure and the comfort that in and of itself, really, I view as a form of uh, kama chanda, or sense desire. And it's not that it's wrong to see the value and make adjustments in your effort to develop a pleasant abiding, pleasant in body, pleasant in mind. That is skillful, but there's a kind of craving or desire or attachment that often comes along with that. And even in its subtlest forms, it becomes a hindrance, and uh, it sort of creates dissonance in the mind. And as I was meditating this morning, my assessment of my mind was the chief thing that was really holding the mind back from a deeper level of peace, a more purified sense of energy in the meditation, in the body and the mind. And it's just this disgruntled uh, sort of feeling. Or another way I talk about it to myself is there's an expectation and a longing or a thirsting for the bodily experience to be different than it is. Um, Especially when we have all these memories and fresh memories of how delightful the body and mind can feel. When it feels light and energetic, and the energy seems to flow. Um, it's especially pleasant when we sit down and the conditions all align in a very easy way, um, which can often be the case if we have very good meditative habits, and a lot of the environmental supports that we have are favorable. But one has to be careful not to uh, not to get stuck there, especially through expectation, or um, making one's sense of well-being conditioned on the body always being a pleasant and comfortable abiding. Um, so while it's skillful, one's got to be very careful about making it a precondition. Um, this is especially true when we think about the vulnerability of the body, and how it's not me, it's not mine, it's not myself, it's not something that I have full control over. Um, and when we think about our aging process, the inevitable sickness that the body has to go through in a lifetime, and especially as we approach our uh, the time where we will face our demise, our death and dying, it's quite certain that when we need it most, when we need a sense of ease, a sense of equanimity, a sense of well-being, it can't be overly bound up with the body. Um, so, and this really can be a profound uh, obstacle in meditation. So when we think about kamachanda, or when we think about the first hindrance, um, I don't think it's just talking about um, our obsessions and desire for sights and sounds and smells and tastes and touches kind of out there in the world. I think it also does very much relate to the relationship that we have with the body and seeking pleasure and comfort sort of in the body, and even the body in the act of meditation. And so that's something one really wants to develop some mindfulness around, and mm, some skills around, because it's something that really can prevent the body, or prevent the meditation from coming together in a beneficial way. So, um, in talking about uh, posture and setting up our meditation, I often tell people, uh, you want to posture is not unimportant, and you want to really find how it is that one can arrange oneself to support the practice of meditation the best way. You want a balanced posture. You want a posture that doesn't require a lot of attention, so that one really can kind of turn inwards, um, that doesn't obstruct the breathing, that doesn't obstruct the free flow of the blood and the energy of the body. Uh, but at some point, there's only so much that we can do um, with our body and the environmental conditions that we have, and we need to make the determination that this is good enough. Uh, Good enough. Uh, and then move towards embracing that with a sense of acceptance and well-being. So, uh, especially as we age, it's just inevitable that much of our experience of the body is going to be threaded with discomfort of various types, even structural or habitual forms of pain and discomfort. And it's really important, like, not to be obsessed with it or overly concerned about it. You do your best to do what's skillful and care for it, and then uh, set your mind on other things and tell yourself, it's good enough. So, and I just encourage people to really look at that sort of and investigate that in your own meditation experience, and how that can kind of come up as a hindrance. Because certainly it was coming up for me this morning, and it's something that I see all the time in my practice coming up. There's a there's an ability to kind of withhold that sort of sense of wellness, and that everything is okay, um, when the body doesn't feel as pleasurable or as comfortable as one likes. So, and then when you release that, um, the mind is kind of free to sort of enter into a deeper level of peace, and you can kind of resolve some of those subtle forms of sense desire. The other thing I was thinking about that we haven't really talked so much about is the fifth hindrance of doubt. I went back and listened to a series that Ajahn Sudanto did when we were first setting up his YouTube channel on the five hindrances, and it gave him encouragement to make them very short. So if people haven't listened to those, there's a nice short playlist on his YouTube channel going over the five hindrances. And in particular, I was listening to the one on doubt a couple days ago, and he talks about the similes uh, uh, of doubt, the water simile, and then also the simile that approaches like the feeling of it. And the water simile is again of some muddy sort of water. Some water's got mud in it. It's all stirred up. It's in a dark place, and like one can't see one's own reflection because the condition that's in. Um, and and then with the feeling of it, I can't remember the simile, but like overcoming it, one feels relief when the doubt is resolved. Um, Oftentimes when people talk about this hindrance, and the most say classical way to talk about it is skeptical doubt, sort of in relationship to the teachings of the Buddha. So it's a crisis of faith, and certainly that kind of plagues people. But um, in as any kind of modeling system, if we're modeling sort of what it is that's obstructing the expression of the more beautiful states of mind, the jhana factors or the seven factors of awakening, I think there's quite a bit of room for other forms that fit nicely into this category of doubt. And of course, the most obvious is maybe one has confidence in the Buddha, but they don't have confidence in oneself. And that leads to this indecision and this spinning around kind of phenomena. And quite frankly, as applied to our meditation, we're just wasting time going around in circles, indecisive. Um, and, the remedy for that is to make a commitment or make a decision. There's a simile of being in a predicament where you come to crossroads, and making the wrong decision is maybe going to be very costly or even cost you your life. But you do need to make a decision. You can't just camp out at the crossroads. And in working with doubt, I mean, that's really the way forward. You can't just stay stuck in it. One needs to make a commitment or a decision. And if it's on the level of view or something, one needs to seek out good friends, wise advisors, and resolve the problems that kind of come up in oneself in the course of practice. Um, and as it more directly relates to sort of one's ability to practice, really one needs to just make commitments and apply oneself and develop the path. Good friends, mentors, teachers can kind of help, of course, give guidance and make commitments. And then as we put forth sort of practice, one eventually kind of gains confidence in one's ability to engage effectively in the practice and experience the benefits of that. So, um, so if one finds oneself kind of lost in this, um, making commitments is really the most important thing. And so, if it's a more kind of global doubt that comes up in the midst of your practice life, and I'm not just talking about sitting in meditation, really one needs to kind of recognize, okay, there's a doubt, there's a lack of confidence, there's a lack of information here, and you don't want to waste a whole lot of time stewing in it. Make a commitment to resolve it, even if you're not in a position to resolve it right away. Um, just identify like what the next step is and commit to that. Um, if we're talking about it in a more discrete way, and it's about engaging directly with your practice, it's the same thing. You just need to make a decision. I think a lot of the way um, people meditate sometimes too is they they oftentimes lose their way, and they're not sure uh, how to move forward in their practice, how to deal with certain conditions, how to deal with certain defilements that are coming up. And we can waste a lot of time in our meditation just being very unclear about the way forward. And so much of it is just making a commitment to do something, take a step in the right direction. And clarity of what you're doing in your practice helps out a lot. Um, Making a kind of commitment is something that I really encourage. Like, be really clear when you sit down to meditate what your strategy is. That goes a long way to uh, protecting one against just wasting a lot of time, not knowing what one's doing and which way to turn. Like, if you don't have a clear commitment, and how do you know which way is up? Um, how do you know which way is forward in the practice? And so, clear commitment to a meditative strategy, as well as tiered strategies or fallback strategies, should that prove not to be a good or a workable strategy for where you are. So, I often talk about breath meditation and how difficult that is. Uh, if there's a sickness in the body, or, if you're really sleepy or something, breath meditation is not always the most appropriate sort of thing. And so, like, if your strategy is breath meditation and you're meditating and there's excessive lethargy and sleepiness of mind, the breath has this tranquilizing quality to it. Even though one's made that commitment, it's good to have plan B and plan C and say, okay, well, this is not working. And then, rather than just fight it or struggle with it sort of excessively, um, move to your backup plan. Um, I often talk about this as like having a toolkit, but it's good to have commitments, uh, kind of going into meditation, so that one doesn't just waste a whole lot of time thinking, well, yeah, maybe I should do loving kindness meditation, or maybe I should just watch over the mind, uh, or maybe I should just give up. So, anyways, I think I've run a bit long here, but a few thoughts about hindrances today, just to again bring them to mind and remind us to keep exploring these. Um, in particular, that relationship to the body, and the tendency that we have to bind uh, our sense of well-being with a pleasant abiding. Pleasant abidings are important, and we want to practice and live in a way that supports that. But you don't want that to be a prerequisite for a sense of well-being, for a sense of peace, for a sense of ease, uh, and an experience that's free of suffering. So I've been trying to keep an eye on the chat here a little bit, but it seems like a lot of the conversation's been about other things. So let's see, Dantika. Commitments sometimes feel forceful. How to deal with that? uh, well, think of a commitment as a strategy, maybe as a firm strategy, but just as a strategy. Um, we have faith in things. We have a motivation to cultivate certain things in our life, and a commitment is the way to honor that, because those feelings, and sometimes even the clarity of your best guess of what it is that I need to pursue or what it is I need to develop, is very fleeting and ephemeral. We get distracted. It ebbs and flows in terms of its strength. And so I think of commitments as a way to sort of capitalize on those moments of inspiration and clarity. And especially, if it's something that's well reasoned and fits with how we understand and our faith and what it is that's going to bring betterment into our life, then making a commitment is the way to bring some stability to that. So, and to me, that softens it, and it doesn't feel so forceful, because then it's more like it's it's more holistic, and it's tied into sort of where my faith is at this time, where my motivation is at this time, and rather than just letting that ebb and flow, I have to find a way to try to stabilize that or operationalize that or honor that. Like, those are words that I use in thinking about making commitments. Um, and doing that, it doesn't feel so forceful. And also it allows for a little bit of flexibility. It's not so dogmatic or rigid, because it's made in the awareness of where your faith lies. So, and your best understanding. So let's see, just a couple more if we can. My program's flipping out here this morning. For doubt, the translation of ekagata as wholeheartedness is a beautiful way to think of the commitment of determination. Mm. Yeah, I love that, wholeheartedness. That's probably my favorite translation for ekagata. So ek means one. So sometimes this ekagata is translated as one-pointed concentration or singleness of mind. And I like singleness of mind. That's good. But sometimes that might evoke this kind of sense of a tightness or a narrowness, whereas wholeheartedness seems much more broad and open. And I think also it captures what ekagata feels like. Ekagata sort of feels whole. Like, I often describe um, our experience with hindrances as fractured, fragmented, um, diverse, disperse. And in the resolution of those dynamics of the hindrances, one moves towards an experience of wholeness of mind. Um, all right, well, let's leave it at that for today. And I'm glad some people found this useful. Uh, Good to see everyone again this morning, and I hope everyone has a nice day, whether the sun's shining or not, or whether it's raining in your corner of the world. Um, be at ease and use your time wisely to advance your skillfulness and your understanding in your Dhamma practice. All right, we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good day.